All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Retro Wrestling. No, that's not it. The Wrestling with Reality, man. I don't know why I'm going to the old one here.
I think I know why.
Yeah, maybe.
We were just talking about it.
We were just talking about the old show a little bit and stuff, so that's why it's stuck in my claw. But it's welcome to Wrestling with Reality. I'm John, and joining me, as always, is my partner, Richie Ridge. Mr. Richie, what's going on, my friend? How are you tonight?
Man, you're coming in with the heat with that Lex Luger music all loud, brother. Got me all pumped. We must be talking about
to get everybody
WCW
pumped
tonight,
here.
dude.
It's Hump Day, man.
Hump Day. We are here with a great topic tonight, talking about some WCW. Back when Bret Hart was coming into the scene, he was the hottest free agent in wrestling, and they flubbed it, man. They flubbed it so bad, and we're going to talk about how we would book it tonight, so I'm excited for this show.
It's a dysfunctional run, you know? Like, it really is a dysfunctional run for Bret when I went back and looked at it a little bit more today. And what a miss it was for him, you know? Like,
more than a miss.
It was just
tragic. It was almost criminal how WCW had handled this.
And how much they paid him to boot, you know?
Yeah.
They paid him, apparently over $8 million over 3 years, and really got no return out of it, in my opinion.
You had to try to mess it up on the level that they did.
Bret versus El Dandy, 60-minute Iron Man match. I'm with you. Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Damn right.
I would have loved to seen him go against the likes of hard-working and twerking Bobby Walker.
Oh, bro, they would have fucking tore the house down between those two.
Dude.
Those two would have just tore the house.
We wouldn't be talking about Goldberg being his nemesis nowadays. We'd be talking about how hard-working Bobby Walker and how he ended Bret Hart's career.
Who are you to doubt hard-work Bobby Walker, too?
That's right.
Damn right, man. That whole El Dandy shit always cracks me up with Bret and the El Dandy promo. He did, like, I think one of them, and then it became so popular. He did, I think, a second one or whatever it was again at another point in time. Nothing will ever top the first El Dandy promo, though. He's a serious technician.
So I got a question for you, and you know, those that are watching as well. Like, do you think that Bret Hart is really a crybaby, like people say?
Yes.
That's your honest opinion?
Honest opinion, bro. He comes across as a giant prick, like Jason says. Like, he says, Bret is a giant prick, just like Mark Henry. And the Browns, or they use Bret like the Browns are going to use Shadusher Sanders. Yeah, I do think he is a bit of a crybaby. What's going on, Jeremy? What's going on, Laza, Jason, Derek, everybody?
Everybody, man.
I do think he's a giant prick. Do I hate him for it? No, I don't hate him for it. It doesn't bother me that much with him. But
is he one of your favorites?
He is, honestly. Bret's one of my favorite workers of all time to watch. You know, you give me a good Bret Hart match from back in the day, I'm glued to it. I could watch Bret versus Mr. Perfect a million times. Like, it's one of my favorite matches of all time to watch. Just two guys in the ring. And I'm more of a storyline guy. You know that about me. I'm more of a storyline guy. But when you can suck me in with the wrestling, and Bret Hart could always suck me in with the wrestling. I mean, how great was his match with Stone Cold, you know, at WrestleMania with Ken Shamrock?
It's that the next, I don't know how many years of Stone Cold's career, man. That was what lit the powder keg that was his career.
Yeah. I mean, Bret Hart made him. You know, Bret Hart made a lot of people stars and a lot of people money.
Stone Cold never forgot that either, man. Nope. When they talked about it on the Stone Cold podcast, he always put him over as the reason why his career went the way it went.
Yeah, I mean, Bret was the man when you got in the ring with him. I'll say some of his best work in WCW was against Chris Benoit when he took him on in that match for the Owen Hart tribute.
That was my favorite match of all time in WCW.
Was that one?
Yeah.
We should go back and watch that maybe over the next week or so.
It was so incredible, and the emotions were so high. Owen had just passed away. Bret had just come back from the hiatus, taking time off of wrestling. We didn't know if Bret Hart was coming back to wrestling after that. Mm-hmm. We didn't know what kind of allegations and court stuff was going to happen with the Owen Hart situation. I mean, it was just everything was up in the air. So when they had that match, it was so good to see him come out, and it was so good to see him do what he does best. And you know, say what you will about Chris Benoit, but he was the perfect person to put in there to kind of animate the Owen Hart style.
Absolutely. And Bret handpicked him in that match for his comeback match to pay homage to his brother. That was a handpicked job by Bret for a reason, because Chris was that damn good of a worker. You know,
Rewind.
I like the new feature that StreamYard offers now. They have it so you can actually put the comments up, and you don't have to use that crap like you know, the OST and all the crazy, you know, fucking discords and all that crap that you got to go through. We like to keep it simple, so I would like them to maybe make that a little bit bigger for the StreamYard people. I know they're always looking for feedback, but it's still pretty nice that it actually shows up all the comments now. So I think it's cool, so we can actually see everything that comes through. But you know, Bret was, to me, one of the guys. When you look at him, he might be a prick, and I think it's the general consensus from what I'm seeing from everybody is he's a prick. But he's a prick that I can overlook it with him, and I find his dry sense of humor and his prick nature. I think it's hilarious, to be honest with you. I think
it's hilarious, and you know what? For as much shit as he talks and stuff like that, a lot of the things he says is true.
Damn right it is, man. It really is.
Hits right on the head with Shawn Michaels, with Triple H, with Goldberg, with a lot of people. Bret Hart's not afraid of telling you his opinion.
He'll tell anybody. Look what happened with Triple H at the Hall of Fame, you know, on WrestleMania night when he was shaking everybody's hands, and that infamous look that Bret gave him after he shook his hand to basically tell him, you're a fucking douchebag and I don't care that you're the head of this company now. Like, you're a fucking douchebag. I'll shake your hand. There you go. Get the fuck out of my face.
Jason, I was watching that pay-per-view live with my brother as well, and all I remember is the promo coming on of the Blue Blazer right when that happened. And man, I'll never forget that night either. When it all went down, me and my brother looked at each other and was just like, what in the fuck just happened? You know? So, God, what a tragic night. And then for a long time thereafter, it dominated my mind to where I've always looked into it routinely. John and I, when we had Wrestling Anonymous, where we were looking into the wrestling conspiracy theories and stuff like that, we did a great episode on it, and we broke down a lot of stuff. It's interesting to think that, you know, to this day, there's still a lot of people that say, you know, it could be a conspiracy theory that he was set up to fall that night. So who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah, Bret couldn't lace up Taz's boots.
That's a real comment right there.
Wish he was there before the Wolfpack too, with the Macho Man and Stinging K-Dog. I mean, everybody's actually already thrown out some really interesting things.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are throwing out some good points already. He helped train a lot of the upcoming stars in the WWF. WCW could have utilized.
Lance, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. He should have took over the power plant for sure.
Bret's first book is probably the best wrestling book ever written. I haven't read it. Is it good?
Which book was it? Rewind. If it's the one that I'm thinking of, I think I read it as well.
Harley Race was a great worker.
Wrestling with Shadows was a great documentary as well. I challenge everybody to watch that too.
It's a very good documentary for that. Good one. Harley Race was a great worker, ran, and legit tough guy too. Yeah. Plus he gave Vince a black eye. That's right, Lorenzi.
One of the only people on this earth to do it.
He knocked his fucking block off. I think the general consensus, though, I go back. Jeremy had the same thing. I hate to say it, but yes, as well. I think the general consensus is he's a little bit of a prick, but people overlook it with him being a prick.
They do.
You know, they overlook it a lot with him being a prick, but Bret is always going to be over with me. Have you been watching any wrestling the last week or anything modern?
I watch Raw religiously now. I do.
Okay. Anything good happen this week?
Yeah, here and there. You know, I'll say this: Raw is having a hard time staying consistent. I generally only tune in to see Pentagon Jr. wrestle. That's usually what I like, and to see Gunther. Those are the two stars right now for me that keep me hooked. So, you know, I think that Pentagon Jr. right now is being very underutilized. I don't like the program that he's in, and I think it's making him look silly taking this many losses right off the bat. So
they still have him job out to Dominic and the gang.
They are, which, you know, I'm all for Dominic going over and stuff like that. But, you know, having him go against Americano, who I think is a GOAT in himself, it's hard for me to watch Pentagon Jr. versus Americano and not want these two to tag team together, man, and just become an unstoppable force. So I'm totally kidding, by the way.
My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling is the name of the book.
Okay. Yeah, he was a cartoon artist. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was a great animator and stuff. Remember, he used to do all the sketches back in the 90s for everybody, and they'd feature his work a lot of time.
Yeah.
Another
Really
good sketch
cool
artist is Jerry the King Lawler too. He's another great artist.
Jerry Lawler. Yeah, I've got art from I got lithographs from both of those guys. So
this is going to be an interesting book. The Scott Hall NWO book comes out next month.
I'll definitely be taking that. Yeah, I'll definitely be reading that one.
Yeah, if I get some time here soon, I might have to check.
Scott Hall, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The bad guy. I was watching, popped up on my feed today, his debut match as Reza Ramon.
Really?
Yeah, it popped up randomly on my feed today on, I think it was on Facebook or whatever it was. And I went back and I watched the match. And ironically enough, the guy that he wrestles is the former WWE Women's Champion Carmella's father. He's the jobber that he beats in the first match. I think he's like Paul Van Dale or something like that. Some shit. But man, Razor was the man. He was another one. You got to watch Wrestling with Shadows, Lorraine.
Dude, it's a great
watch. It's a really good watch. They do a great job chronicling everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you like Beyond the Mat, I think it's just as good in just a different way that's more focused on Bret and the Hart family.
You know, I didn't like Beyond the Mat. I thought that was really shitty. Yeah, I thought that was a really shitty documentary. Never really liked that one.
Oh, man. Interesting. You're one of the first ones I've ever heard that said they didn't like it.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like that he really kind of exploited the bad.
That's the part I didn't like.
Yeah.
That was a shitty thing to do.
Yeah, he kind of exploits Jake Roberts and his situation really, really bad at the time. And listen, Jake knew what he was getting into, so it's not like the guy sold him on a bill of goods that, didn't happen. So he knew it was going to be a documentary on those types of things. So you sign up for it, you get paid for it, you got to go with it. But I'm with you where I think they kind of exploited people a little bit on that.
I wanted to say too, I don't know if you guys have caught that new Stephanie McMahon series that they got going on.
No.
But the one with Triple H, I will say, go and watch that. It was incredible. They covered his heart situation. I always wanted to hear more of what happened with his heart problem that he had, and they go deep into detail, probably more than anyone has. And man, we came very close to not having Triple H on this world anymore. So I'm very glad that he's still here. And if you want to get a real look into what happened to him and stuff that he suffered from, go watch that, man. It was a good listen. So,
Rand says, I like Beyond the Mat. Enjoyed the extras from as well. Resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts is incredible.
That was, yep.
That shit's powerful at the end when he goes back to Raw finally and makes his, come back there on Raw. And really nobody but a couple of them and that was watching it that night knew that he was going to be coming out. And it's just like a really cool moment. And Jake's had a pretty darn good run for the most part since then. I know he had like maybe one slip up through the years. I know he's had a lot of health issues, but it's great to see how his story turned around. Resurrection is a great one. Rewind is not going to be giving you massages here now. He says Beyond the Mat is the best wrestling doc. Wrestling with Shadows is good, but it's not on the mat good.
Okay.
Or Beyond the Mat.
And we can agree to disagree, man.
No.
We started off disagreeing when you came in on this show, buddy. Welcome.
Jeremy says, I watched the Triple H episode today. It was incredible.
Yes.
Rand says, Terry Funk versus Bret Hart at the Brian Pillman tribute show. ECW champ versus WWF champ. Yeah, that showed you how much respect Bret had for Terry Funk, where he came out and did his retirement show too, in that small little venue in Amarillo where he's from. So that's how much Bret loved and respected a guy like Terry Funk.
Sure.
Lorenz says, I love Jake Roberts in the scene where he goes, is that chocolate while looking at his jacket, and Terry Funk tripping over a pebble and Beyond the Mat. My favorite part of Beyond the Mat is that goofball friend of his. I know he unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, but the guy that was jumping on the trampoline.
Yep.
He says, what are you doing? I'm staying in shape. I never know when my next match is going to be. Rewind says, you guys can discuss it while he's giving you a rub down.
God help me. Where's
Jude
the Bret Sean rival? Jude been?
I don't know where Jude is. I'm sure he'll pop in later on.
Yeah.
I love the Bret versus Sean rivalry documentary. Yeah, I loved when they buried the hatchet years later too, and I loved a few years ago when you saw them catching up at a wrestling show, having a nice conversation. So
I've got a lot of autographs from that moment, man, and it was a powerful moment. So
yeah, it was cool times, man. It's good to see those guys bury the hatchet and be friendly now. Dennis Stamp, yeah, that was his name, Dennis Stamp. Sean, what's up, man?
What's up, Sean?
Surprise one to watch is the $1 Million Man one. I thought it was horrible, Jeremy. I couldn't stand it.
I thought that one was horrible too. I fell asleep in the first 15 minutes of that one.
Yeah, I made it. I think I pretty much did the same where I knocked out during part of it. And then I watched the rest like another day in pieces. It was just one of those really boring ones to me. And to be honest with you,
what sucks is the Diamond Dallas Page one. I felt the same way with. I didn't think it was that good.
I'm sure they'll produce something better one day for him. Hopefully, hopefully they do.
And the Hall of Fame human being, bro. He should definitely have a great documentary after him.
Yeah. The $1 Million Man one, even when I think about what their family has done, to the state of Mississippi, ripping off welfare funds and just doing
Mississippi's had it rough, dude. Brett Favre was kind of involved in
shit. We better be careful. He might sue us,
I don't give a shit about that.
I don't either. He's a douchebag, man.
Good luck, buddy.
He's on Aaron Rodgers level douchery to me. So just going to throw that up there. Brett Favre is a douchebag of the highest degree. Anybody that steals welfare funds and does that type of thing,
you're
like that,
bag.
you're a douche. You're a complete douche nozzle.
Yeah.
So he can go politely fuck himself. And Ted's kid there, the one that was in WWE for a hot minute, Junior, he's facing, I think, like 45 years in prison, bro.
He's the one that's facing it, or his other son?
The other son already got convicted. He's already pled guilty.
So both of them were involved, because my understanding that
both of them
Ted
were
DiBiase Jr. was not involved, but if he is, holy
no,
shit,
he was the biggest culprit of them all.
Really?
Yeah, he was the biggest culprit of them all. He siphoned away, I think, close to like $3 to $5 million of welfare funds and fake companies and bogus services. He's literally facing, Ted DiBiase Jr. is facing 45 years in prison.
Hey man, you know what? It just goes to show you when people like do that, dude, they got to be held their feet to the fire.
Yep.
Dude, you're literally stealing from the poor people.
You're
how low can you go? I mean, you're on the level. That's some douchebaggery I can't comprehend.
Yeah.
So
late to the show, late to the party due to my son's rehearsal and dinner for his wedding.
Well,
congratulations to your son.
Hope it went well, Sean.
Yeah, man. That's awesome, bro. Your son's going to be getting married. More grandkids probably on the way soon, I bet.
Yeah.
I struggle when WWE over sanitizes their documentaries with corporate shit. Yeah, and sometimes they do that, Lawrence.
Same here.
Ted DiBiase Jr. is looking at life. If he gets convicted to the full extent and they want to give him the max consequences if he's convicted, he's probably going to be in there the rest of his life.
Jude gave us his best. He's doing inventory, and he will be with us next week. So.
Oh, awesome. Inventory. Not fun, though.
No, I do it every year. It's horrible.
All right, so people keep sending me this shit now after a couple weeks ago, and they're just looking to – you're one of them. Jeremy did it. A couple other people have sent them to me on Facebook. The same fucking clip from this person, and – They just want to get me riled up. My blood pressure just got under control.
You're a little red just bringing it up right now. I'm telling you, you're looking a little flushed. You need a drink of water, buddy.
This fucking woman has been taunting me for years, and I'm just. We talked about her most
outfit
hated
on Monday Night Raw this last week. She has changed her outfit, dude. You would not be happy to see it. Oh my god!
How bad is it?
It's bad. Here,
go
ahead. You go ahead, and I'll show you it here.
So you, Jeremy, a bunch of other people send me this clip that she posted up on her TikTok, and I'm like, people are actually putting this shit over. Some people like this is just the greatest fucking thing in the world. Like she's reinventing the wheel. So I'll admit I watched it already once. And it agitated me enough that I wanted to watch it again, and you guys wanted to get a live reaction to it. So I'll bring it up on the screen. So this is from her TikTok page. So if you want to follow Nothing Happening Natty, go check her out on fucking TikTok. And she's reinventing herself now. This was before I think her match.
How many times now?
Yeah, 90. This is the 90th in her 20 some odd year career of fucking torturing us. Yes, Sean, it's the Natalia video. There it is. When my blood pressure is high, I turn into Joe Pesci. That's not good. We don't want you hitting people upside the head with baseball bats and shit.
Good Lord.
I see people like writing in the comments, oh, this is Natty. This is the Natty I want to see. Oh, fuck you. What?
Can you see that?
Not really. Text it to me.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, text that to me.
It's bad, dude. It's pretty bad.
I do not understand what anybody likes about this shit with her. This is the most over-rehearsed garbage in the world. You wonder why Hollywood hasn't come calling either. Nothing happened in fucking Natty. This is one of the reasons why. So I'll play it. You guys be the determining factor if you like this or not. but I might stop it a couple times during it. Oh, it was a Bloodsport promo, Jeremy said. He thinks it was for Bloodsport. Well, all right, let's check it out here. Her title from this is "Stripping Down to Who I Am is the most thrilling thing I've ever done in this business. God help Kenzie." So this is for the NWA match, Jeremy. So this was 6 days ago. Whoopee. So once again, this is from her Twitter page. Let's hit it.
I am not this. I made this. I built this. I did this.
What the fuck is with the music?
To survive.
What's with the hat?
Underneath, there's a part of me that craves firefighter.
Is this like her trying to channel her Bray Wyatt? What's that?
Quit doing Botox.
Bro, she's pumping enough Botox in her everywhere. I accept my flaws when I get older, and nothing happened in Natty, man. She's just putting more fucking Botox in her. What is she trying to channel her inner Bray Wyatt here or something like that? Is this her attempt at being a dark character?
This is just horrible.
Is she going to be a dark character now or something like that for us?
It gets worse.
The side that loves to leave behind the predictability and the security.
What is she, a stripper?
I don't know.
You see, I was born fighting, Kenzie. Somewhere along the way, I was domesticated.
Where was she born fighting? In fucking Calgary?
And why would you say you're domesticated and do a promo like this? Like,
yeah. Where was she born fighting? On the mean streets? You just
contradicted yourself.
Yeah. On the fucking mean streets of Calgary, you know?
Yeah.
In a life of fucking privilege.
Neidhart's fucking basement, like with your bills paid and you got the nicest car on the block, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really came up hard.
You're really
Maddie.
fucking struggling, all right? You really grew up in the hard life. Now you're domesticated too.
Yeah.
And that's why my life doesn't fit right now.
Oh God.
Look at her socks.
Some people get fast cars or drugs or a piece on the side.
A piece on the side.
Some people
What in the fuck did that have to do with anything?
Some people crave drugs or fast cars or a piece on the side, bro.
Okay.
Wow.
Moving forward here.
Looks like she's open in a dungeon. Rewind, you'd like it in the dungeon with her, I'm sure. Natty for WWR Hall of Fame. The fuck she'll be.
Yeah, for people who should retire.
Yeah, she did struggle getting that jacket off. That's the facts right there. She was in the dungeon.
She struggled with getting that hat off too, with that big ass chin she's got. Look at that shit.
Big dome, man.
Look at that. Look at her lip. Okay, don't press play yet. Look at her fucking lips, dude.
Wow.
Dude, the Botox looks awful, bro.
She's got like those. It
looks like a Mr. Potato Head.
She's got like the fucking fish lips going on, you know, like fucking puffed out, like she can't even close them. Oh, stop! I tell you, please.
Ugh.
Just to feel alive.
All right.
Is she ripping her fucking eyelashes off?
I just need to taste the blood.
Are you having a meltdown, lady?
Mick Foley pulled his hair out in promos, and she's pulling her eyelashes
off. What in the fuck am I watching?
Jesus.
Feeling of bruises underneath my clothes.
All right.
In the rush of kill or be killed.
Who have you killed?
What is this?
How did this lady wrong you that you would do that?
Why is she rubbing her lipstick all over her face?
Oh, Lord.
She gets her fucking slobber all over her hand.
Why?
And then just smears her lipstick on.
What the fuck are we watching? This shows me why they have not been putting her on WWE TV.
Oh, Botox.
Flat. I love it, John.
Next thing, she leaves wrestling for porn. I mean, I'm sure people would pay big bucks for it, Lawrence.
It's coming. Oh, boy.
I don't need to get something else to feel alive, Kenzie. I need to be someone else.
All right.
Someone who is going to come to your house and beat your ass.
What the fuck?
And smile I'll die.
Johnny, we need to get you on we need to get you on a debate with her. I think it'd be hilarious.
Bro, I'm telling you right now, if we could get her on the show, I've said it before, I will say exactly what I fucking feel. All right? I would hold zero back with her. There
so
wouldn't
watching
even be
that, do you see another side to Natalia that you didn't see before?
It's kill or be killed, Richie. She's a
Give
killer.
It reminds me of the Batista promo. Give me what I want.
Give me that goddamn belt and respect.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking Hart, goddammit. Been doing this for 22 years and nobody gives a fuck about me still.
And I still suck.
And I still suck at this shit. You would think after 22 years they could teach her to cut a better fucking promo than that, you know? Like 22 years or so you've been in this fucking business. You've been around your whole life. Stu and the Anvil didn't fucking put promo classes in the dungeon when they were kids. This is the shits.
Dude.
I don't know what drug she took to take that, Sean. She was like fucking doing something hard.
Pretty horrible.
Natalie, she meant to be Harley Quinn. Yeah, minus the talent. You know? That's disrespectful to Harley. Yeah.
I know.
There's no fucking talent. I don't get it, man. What is this shit? And people were like really writing on this chick's TikTok. This is the greatest. This is Natty we've always needed to see. This is, Natty, this is what we want.
This won the internet. Rewind said, that is like every first date I've been on.
I don't like if I like crazy or crazy likes me. I think it's both. Rewind.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, on that booger show. I don't know what she's on, man.
She's took over for fucking Rewind skit tonight.
Yeah, Joey, we're back, man. What's going on, buddy? How's it going? Good to see you again, my friend. Hopefully you're doing well. God, I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what in the fucking piss at all.
I'm glad it's over. That's all.
Yeah, that was like 2 minutes of torture. But just watching it, I'm like, what in the fuck?
And Becky Lynch and that NXT chick on Monday Night Raw had a 3-way match for a qualifier for Money in the Bank this year. It was the drizzling shits. And Becky Lynch, the whole match, you could see her calling the match underneath her breath. The whole fucking match. She killed the whole illusion. My wife could even call it out.
Who won the match?
Literally telling her what to do next. You could hear it. I'm like,
don't tell me Natalia won.
No, Natalia didn't win. The NXT chick did.
Who? What's the NXT chick that she took on?
I can't remember. She's the one that's been beating up Io Sky with her partner.
Oh, is it Roxanne Perez or Julia?
Yeah, that's the one. I think Roxanne Perez. Yep.
The one they're teasing to go in the Judgment Day or whatever now.
Yep.
I need to bleach my eyes after seeing that. She's looking like she's on something that reminds me of Courtney Love. Good Lord, stop putting her in triple threat matches so she will stop trying a double sharpshooter.
Dude, that was the worst shit ever. Oh, my God. Thank you for bringing that spot up. That was garbage. She couldn't even get it done. She couldn't even do it.
Yeah, both Joey and Jeremy both said that it's Roxanne Perez.
Did anyone else in that, you guys in here in the chat right now, did you guys see where Becky Lynch was calling the match and you could hear it on the microphone and stuff like that? Like, my wife the whole time, she doesn't watch wrestling normally. She's like, she's literally telling her what to do next. Like, she's killing the illusion. It's like, yeah, I know.
I have never been a fan of Becky Lynch either, and you know that. Like, I can't stand her. I think she is the worst worker in the ring, and I think her promos fucking suck. She's a poor woman's fucking version of Conor McGregor that she tries to act like when she does that stuff. And the only difference is, and I don't like Conor McGregor at all. I think he's a prick. Never liked him at all. Just not my type of guy. I know he's your dude and you love him.
No, not anymore. Not after the
rape stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. If you look in the background here, my stuff is taken down now. So I'm not.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
I don't support rapists, man. So.
But I got to admit about Conor McGregor, though, that man can cut one hell of a promo, and he knows how to draw people into anything that he's doing. He's got charisma for days, and that's why people pay to see him fight, and he's made as much money as he has. Becky tries the best version of her is when she tries to be him, and it's awful. And anybody that thinks it's good, I can't understand it because it just doesn't come like when Conor gives you that heel promo or he's ripping somebody, a new ass or whatever it is. It's authentic. Yeah. And what he's doing is authentic. He didn't write some shit up on a cue card and practice it in the fucking mirror at night. He's going out there and just nailing them, and he's good at it too.
Yeah, was that Starks, Jeremy, that got injured? I just saw that on the chat there.
Zoe Starks, that knee injury.
Starks, man, that was brutal. That was like Sid Vicious when he did it in WCW. It's pretty bad.
So who's my favorite female wrestler all time, Sean? My all-time favorite female wrestler is Trish Stratus. I love Trish.
Nice.
She's the goat of women for me. My favorite modern performer, I would probably say, I got to go with Toni Storm.
Toni Storm? That's
yeah.
a good one.
Yeah, she's a good worker in the ring every time. She's one of the only things I'll watch on AEW when it comes up. Like, I really like Toni Storm. I think they have a lot of upside. That Mariah May girl's really good over there. That I heard she might be coming over to WWE. I think she's really good. I like Steph Vacker, that girl.
I like her too. Yeah,
she's great. She's hot. She's amazing in the ring, and she's just a phenomenal person.
I like Stratton. She's all right.
Yeah, she's getting there. She got a lot of work to do.
I've always thought that Paige had a lot more left in her. AJ Lee, I thought, had a lot left in her tank too. AJ Lee was my favorite of all time. So.
Yeah, you always loved her.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Who doesn't like Trish? Trish she's a great example to me of somebody that was awful when she started and she put the hard work. Yeah. You know, she was terrible in the beginning.
That woman is one of the only women in the Hall of Fame right now that I think actually deserve. She's one of the few that actually deserve it in the Hall of Fame. Alundra Blaze, her, few other ones that are in there actually deserve it. You know,
Trish is the GOAT of females to me.
Yes. Yeah.
Would you say the same?
I'd say she's probably she's the greatest of all time. I would say. Yep, for sure. With what she's achieved and how far she came in the business and everything. Yeah.
Nicole Bass is the best. There's the real GOAT of female professional wrestling.
I just threw up in my mouth.
She's easy on the eyes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Rewind probably would like Nicole to tie him up and bring him down to the dungeon.
She'd probably oblige too.
Oh, did anyone see Zoe Stark blow out her knee? Yeah, we were just talking about Jason. That was terrible to see from somebody.
And I'll guarantee you, she's going to get released when she comes back from it.
She'll probably get 6 months, and then they'll send her packing.
Yeah,
she's had a lot of issues, and trust me, as somebody that has awful leg issues as I've had 5 surgeries just on my one knee alone, and that's not good for her, man. She has torn her ACL. She has torn her MCL now. I think she's torn her ACL twice, and she's torn her MCL. She's torn her meniscus in her knee already, and she's already missed a lot of time for that.
That's haven't. What I got right now is a tear in my meniscus, and it's very painful. So.
It sucks, man. It's no fun, you know. And when you're talking torn ACLs and MCLs and stuff too, those are the most serious injuries that she's had in the past. And I think she's had ACL, I think, is twice, if I remember correctly.
It's hard to come back from one of them. So.
Listen, I'm walking proof every day. And let me tell you, she's going to wake up and later on in life, unfortunately, after all those issues, and she's going to be in a shit ton of pain. I'm 43 with the legs of a fucking 90-year-old.
Dude, Rewind's got some soft hands. He could take care of you, Johnny boy.
I know he could. I got to fly out to I got to fly all the way out to Oregon, man, and go get one of those good rub downs to get this leg better. This poor girl, man, whatever she did to it on her knee, she's going to be suffering for a long time in her life if she doesn't start slowing it down. It might, she might have to have a little bit different of a path. I'll just say that. Sure, but I hope and pray the best for her. Absolutely. Medusa, did Nia Jax get messed up? She got hit on the head with something.
Dude, I had a fucking meltdown on that fucking tick of a fucking human being.
Yeah, Jeremy said it too. You got to talk about that pig in her head injury Friday night.
Dude.
She got clobbered, bro.
Well deserved, by the way.
Charlotte gets unnecessary hate. Listen, I don't have a problem with Charlotte.
I'm going to be honest with you, Joey. Charlotte's kind of brought that on herself, my man. She's caused a lot of hate for herself in the locker room just because of the stuff with Ric Flair and all of that, man. I mean, she's kind of made it to where she's that spoiled brat in the room that thinks she's entitled.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that perspective too. I don't think she deserves the hate level that she gets, but I can see why people get rubbed the wrong way and turned off by her. I don't think she's the most insufferable prick, ever for the female wrestlers in the back, but she's definitely not a favorite back there.
I'm just reading Lawrence's stuff, and I'm just.
Also have the hots for Mickey James. Oh, so jealous of Nick Aldis, who's the same age as me, hooking up with a hottie like her. Oh, Charlotte's his favorite female wrestler. Okay, Lita's Sean's. He's one of his favorites.
Yeah,
Lita's a good one. You know, Rewind, one day I might have to take you up on it with those soft hands, brother.
Absolutely.
Richie can attest that Rewind's got magic hands, right?
I cannot.
Yes, you don't. Bullshit.
I'm sure that Jude's beard has been massaged once or twice from Rewind's hands. He could probably attest to that.
Yeah, you say that shit when Jude's not here to defend himself. You know? We're gonna have to question that one later on. She can work though, as far as what I can see, and she puts people over. And like Becky, that is very true, Joey. I do agree with that. She is a very good worker in the ring for Charlotte. She is a very good worker for sure. Married and divorced 3 times by the age of 38. Charlotte is a fuck up.
Thank you.
Yeah, and none of her marriages, I don't think, have lasted over 5 years. So
she's like Jennifer Lopez of the wrestling world.
She's got a little ways to go before there, but I'm sure she might very well hit that at some point. You never do know.
Sure. She's gonna hit that before she breaks Ric Flair's record with the championship.
Well, she's got to break his championship and divorce record. I think he's up to 5 for divorces. You guys tell me if I'm wrong on that. I think it's 5 that he's up to. She's got a little ways to go. I'm pretty sure she's going to hit it though. He's what, like 77 now. She's only 39, or 38. Jason said she's got plenty of time to catch up to those 2 records right there.
Yep.
I think she'll do it.
Could be.
All right. Oh. Rewind's calling you out. Stop lying. When I'm not in Arizona, we're doing FaceTime massages and you love them.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God. Bret Hart, WCW. Let's get to this now, buddy. Let's get to this. Bret Hart, WCW. All right. There it is. He's hooked on it, man.
Anyway.
Mazel tov. Rabbi Modus is back. He just got back from
Jesus, it's our favorite rabbi.
Shalom, my good sir.
Shalom indeed.
I would have had him, going back to Bret Hart here, I would have had him be the one to end Goldberg's streak by out wrestling him, and then have him and Sting have a loser retires match.
Yeah, but if you do that, you're exposing Goldberg completely because he can't fucking wrestle. And it was your biggest star at the time. That's the problem with that.
Goldberg was not going to get a good match at all. Nobody was going to really get one out of him.
No.
You know, we'll talk about it in a minute with that because we're going to hit on the Goldberg stuff. When I looked at Bret's run, it's a fucking disaster.
It's a head scratcher for sure. I'm serious, dude. I can't believe the way they did this.
It's just it's like a bipolar booking, and it's like 1 minute he's a heel, 1 minute he's a face, 1 minute he's a champ, next night he loses it, then he gets it back in a week, then he's the champ again, he's going for the TV title, the US title, he's losing over and over again, he's NWO, he's not NWO.
Rabbi Moses says Natty is his favorite Jewish wrestler, by the way.
Well, shalom to her then, and to
Rabbi.
you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah, I tell you, she can
Very
go shit in a
man.
hat. She sucks.
Okay.
Let's just
throw
that out there. She sucks. Yeah, his Lord Steven Regal match was really funny when Regal got tired of it and beat the shit out of him in it, and then he got fired afterwards.
Right.
So, yeah, you don't fuck with William Regal, man. He's a legit tough guy.
He is.
So they bring Bret in, shortly after everybody knows the screw job. They bring him in right after the screw job, and he ends up making his debut on Nitro on December 15th, 1997. And they announced him as being part of the Starrcade pay-per-view. Eric Bischoff had been coming out saying that the NWO it's got Bret Hart. He's going to be coming and joining the NWO and all that crap. And then he makes his debut on that Nitro, and then they basically put him into the Starrcade pay-per-views because the reason behind this was he had a no-compete clause still with WWF at the time. So that's why he couldn't. Did Jeremy convert? I don't know.
Yeah,
Jeremy, shalom.
Welcome.
So the reason he couldn't be in a match right off the bat was he had a no-compete clause for 60 days. To me, though, I think this was a complete waste. You had the biggest storyline going in wrestling at that point in time was Sting versus Hogan being that final match. They're finally getting Sting back in the ring. Why not wait till the no-compete and Bret can actually get in the ring and do stuff? Why not wait 60 days for it and let this Starrcade stuff go? Okay? Let this Starrcade stuff go. What we got here? I was going to post the sign, but Taz ate it. Would you have booked Bret Hart and waited the 60 days till you brought him out, or would you have done it immediately like they did it?
I'm a big fan of the slow burn like you and Jude are, man. I would have waited a while to bring him out there. I would have built the anticipation up. I would have done what Tony Schiavone and them guys were doing, where they were, you know, reading the results off and stuff. I would have went one better. I would have made Bret Hart go on and do kind of the Stone Cold promos that he did against Eric Bischoff in ECW. I would have had so much shit talked about Vince McMahon on my product on Monday Nitro, and had Bret do all these horrible promos about WWF and how they fucked him over and all that stuff. That's how I would have had him go for a few, and build the anticipation just to kind of get him out there, and you know, have him kind of angry at heads of wrestling promotions, and make him kind of a guy that doesn't trust the wrestling promotion. So he doesn't trust WCW when he comes out there. And you don't really know, because at the time you have NWO and you have WCW going at it, and you don't know what side Bret Hart's going to pick, right? And you can build it up from there. Is he going to choose WCW? He's saying that he doesn't trust them. Is he going to choose NWO? He's saying he doesn't trust them, you know, and then I would kind of make him a little bit of a lone wolf kind of guy. So
let's look at the Starrcade 97 experience. To me, I would not have had Bret debut and have him as a guest referee in the Zbyszko and Bischoff match. I would not have had that. I would not have brought him out at the end to help you know, right the wrong of Sting. I'll tell you, hindsight's 2020. You know, I'm a huge Sting guy, and I love this era. The Crow is one of my favorites. To me, if you really want to book some shock and awe, and you really want to continue this on the right way, and you really want to find a good way to bring in Bret Hart, this is what I would have done. You guys tell me if you don't like it or not, but this is something I was thinking about. Dude, don't bring him in till that 60-day no compete's over, because you can get him when it's hot. You got another hot angle. You got the hottest angle going with Hogan and Sting. Shock everybody and have people come out and cost Sting that match legitly. Don't do some bullshit 1, 2, 3 where he really got pinned, or the ref, you know, did that crap they do. Screw Sting over fucking bad, man. Let him lose to send people home angry and unhappy at that.
You would have had Bret Hart come out in this match still?
No, later on down the road. So Sting gets fucked over. Fine, you know, he comes back and he still gets fucked over, and he still gets wronged, and the NWO is still getting their way and doing everything. Sting gets another crack finally at the belt, say it like a Super Brawl that year or something like that, when the no compete's over with. Man, have Sting finally get his moment again to get Hogan in some type of match, you know, maybe a steel cage match, whatever it might be. And then when you think it's going to happen again and they're all going to screw Sting over and cost him the match, Bret Hart makes his debut, comes out, costs the NWO, you know, the title here with Hogan, and helps even the odds. Sting gets the belt. Everybody's going crazy. As soon as he does that and they're celebrating in the ring together, have Bret heel him right then and there and go for the big gusto, man. Go for the feud that everyone wanted to see. The Sharpshooter versus the Scorpion Deathlock, man. Yeah. Two of the best wrestlers in the world. Sting versus Hogan. You just set it up right there, and Bret comes in on fire.
See, I wanted Bret Hart to have a program with Hogan and stuff like that, but I wanted him to be the baby face in it. I wanted him to have the Hart Foundation over there. I wanted the Hart Foundation to go against the NWO. I think those would have been some classic matches. And I wish Owen Hart would have made the jump as well. I think he would have been a good fit in there too. I really wish, if I could rebook it, I would have had Owen jump ship too.
Do you think he wanted to, really?
I think Owen Hart was kind of done with the wrestling business. I think he wanted to be a teacher, and I think he wanted out of it. From all the evidence that I read and from what he was getting ready to tell the WWF at the time, I think he was getting ready to leave and go off into the sunset. Had I had it my way, selfishly, I would have had him go to the WCW. I would have reformed the Hart Foundation and had them take on the NWO.
You know, I'll go with it from there, but it's a little different for me. You know, what I would have liked to have seen for him. I agree with pairing him up with people. I think the Hart Foundation was exposed at that point and was completely dead with the Bulldog and Neidhart. They were way past their prime at that moment. And, you know, I just don't think that it would have been a good fit in WCW. What I would have liked to have seen is when Bret went heel, is he started a road group like you mentioned with Austin, you know, where you do that badass baby, either that badass heel that really becomes kind of the baby face. So he cost Sting that match. He eventually gets his fight against Sting later on down the road, wins the belt from him and in some way, and then becomes just this complete badass character, kind of like a Stone Cold, and recruits his own faction. Who would I have liked to have seen that faction, though? Owen Hart would have been great if he would have been able to come over. But for what they had over there at the time, I would have loved to have seen just a vicious, badass Bret Hart faction with guys like Chris Benoit in it, a Dean Malenko, a Chris Jericho you bring in there, Perry Saturn potentially. you could bring a plethora of these young, great talent that they had at the time that were on that next level.
And that would have been some long-term booking.
Yeah.
And Bret Hart would have been able to mentor those guys even further.
And it would have been more of a modern-day badass horseman style. Get 4 guys in there.
And they're all technical wrestlers.
Yeah, and this is how it could have set up one of his feuds with Ric Flair, too, because Rick had the horsemen, you know, the guys like Benoit and all them. Benoit turns on him and goes with him then. And this group just goes and starts.
You would have to have Malenko do it, too.
Yeah, I mean, you get like great technical wrestlers, badasses, guys that were just bruisers and fighters.
Hell, I'd even go as far as having Kurt Hennig in there.
Shit, I mean, Kurt was a little past his prime at this point.
Yeah,
he was a little past his
Mr.
prime.
Perfect is always perfect to me, man.
He always is damn good too.
Even past his prime, I'd still got my money on Perfect.
Dude, the West Texas Rednecks was phenomenal.
Yes.
You know, then you can have this group feud that he takes over. They start just taking over the company. And then this is how you get rid of the NWO. You want your write-off for the NWO storyline. These guys eventually go at it with the NWO, and you finally get the Hogan versus Bret match later on that everybody has been talking about that you never got.
We never fucking got it. Not a legit one.
Not a legit one. It's just his whole run is just marred and flawed, and it's just back and forth. Like, this is like how it goes for him from where he's at. So we're giving some booking ideas here, but this is what the reality of it was. So he does the thing at Starrcade, you know, he gets involved in the thing, you know, overturns it. Then his no compete clause finally expires and he gets his first match, you know, and he says he's going to defend the honor of WCW against the NWO. And his first big matches are against the likes of Bryan Adams and Kurt Hennig at Uncensored in March. You know, he had his debut match at the Nitro against Adams. And then later on, in 1998 in April, he interferes in the Nitro main event between Hogan and Savage, and he helps Hogan then get the WCW Heavyweight Championship, and he becomes a heel, an associate of the NWO. Why would you put Bret Hart as second fiddle at this point?
Why would you do that, especially coming off being the hottest free agent? You have that great storyline that your literal enemy that you're in a war with fed you on a silver platter the hottest free agent in wrestling. You took it and you shit the bed with it. You did absolutely nothing. You made him second fiddle to Hulk Hogan in the NWO. Yep. And even then it looked goofy because Bret never really put the NWO over in those promos and stuff like that. You could just tell that he wasn't into it, you know?
Joey mentions a good point here. Says, I think we're forgetting that guys like Hogan, Nash, and Piper would have put the kibosh on any Bret Hart push. You know, I disagree with that, Joey, for this reason right here. Bret Hart was coming in off of the hottest angle in professional wrestling with the screw job and what everybody was talking about. Bret Hart had a hell of a he had creative control, and I think in his contract,
so much cool, dude.
He could basically do and come and go as he pleased. Was Hogan the biggest one there that had the most? Yes. Absolutely. But Bret was coming off of, you know, the biggest angle in WWF in ages.
He could have negotiated more if he wanted to.
Absolutely. And, you know, they could have discussed, you know, different things and ways they could have done it. It's just, you know, if you were going to have him and Hogan and you're not doing it legitly, it diminishes something that was set up all the way at WrestleMania 9, for Christ's sakes, you know? Yeah. Like the storytelling is already there for them.
You know what sucks is I go back. It's funny you bring that up, Joey. Piper, for instance. Piper is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Loved his gimmick, loved his run in WCW, loved his run in WWF. My problem with Piper was all of his stuff was so bipolar in WCW, where he would show up, then he would be gone, and all this stuff. He was like the WCW part-timer of WWE today, you know. And that shit got kind of irritating. So I would have liked all that stuff that they did with Piper to be almost erased from WCW, to be honest with you.
He got embarrassing at some points in WCW, didn't he?
Yeah. Look at one of the storylines that they did with him where they were having those guys come out there in kilts and he was picking his team. They literally had to reset the whole fucking story in the middle of it.
It was the week before the pay-per-view at Uncensored when he brought out all those bums and he's saying that they're his family and one's like a kickboxer. The other's
a joke.
It was terrible, man. And like
and I love Piper. Don't get me wrong, man.
Absolutely.
There's some parts in WCW, the Halloween Havoc match that he had and all that stuff. But some of it was just bipolar booking. He would show up and then he wouldn't be there. And then it was just up and down and up and down. Unfortunately, the Piper run is another one that was mishandled there.
Jeremy said 2 matches I wish we could have seen. Bret and Kurt. I always say that. We did that on a show a while ago. That's top for me, I think.
Oh, Bret and AJ would have been amazing.
Wow. Yeah. To quote Kramer, man, giddy up on that.
Bret and Kurt would be one of the greatest matches of all time.
Yeah, Bret versus Steamboat, great match. Yeah,
Bret versus Shamrock.
There's it's funny with Bret Hart. So you hear people say it all the time. I want to see Bret Hart against this person. I want to see Bret Hart against that person. Any real wrestling fan who knows wrestling knows that if you're looking at dream matches in fantasy booking, which is what we do sometimes here on the show, Bret Hart's probably involved in about half of them in some way, especially if you're looking at a good technical match.
Bret versus Samoa Joe, that would be a good one there.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a fun one, Lawrence. One idea I thought, like Penta and Lucha, where Bret gets so angry in matches he breaks people's legs in the sharpshooter, laying off the spinners from the screw job, hurting other wrestlers, hurt everyone like a crazy Ken Shamrock. I like that idea too.
I do too.
Joey says Savage was one of the only legends who still had name value at that and tried to make Bret look good. Yeah. It's funny. It's like most of the guys just really respected Bret too, no matter, I
think Bret and DDP could have did a good program together.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. There was a lot of opportunities for him in WCW. And then they go off in WCW, guys, and then this is where they kind of start leading them here. They put him in a match against Chris Benoit, and Hart ends up winning it because of assistance from the NWO. Then he goes on to a WCW title match with Booker T for the WCW World Television Championship, and that they flaw that one right there. Bret wins,
it the TV title or was it the US title?
This was the TV title at this point.
Bret actually got the TV title.
He did, and then he was disqualified after for hitting Booker with a steel chair. So, yeah, another horseshit ending. That why is Bret even in a TV title match at this point? Like give me a fucking break. He doesn't need the TV title to get any credibility. And then you do some bullshit ending to it where you take the belt back even though he won. So, yeah, good booking right there. Yeah. He headlined his first Nitro card then against DDP for the vacant U.S. Championship. And
so they did have a program together.
Just a small one. It wasn't a really big one. They bounced around a little bit together through the years. Because as you're going to start hearing right now, as every other week or every couple of weeks, Bret's in some new back and forth with somebody. Then he moves on to losing. He loses the title like less than 3 weeks later to Lex Luger and loses the U.S. Championship. Then he gets it back the next night on Thunder. So loses it, gets it back. Then in the main event of Fall Brawl, Bret it gets beat in the War Games match for the #1 contender spot to the championship. So then he gets beat again. Then he goes back and asks the fans for forgiveness, and he pretends to turn his back on Hogan in the NWO. And then you're supposedly going to get a match between Hart and Hogan, that's booked. And then during the match, Hart sustains a knee injury and it ends in a no contest. Sting comes to his aid and gets a match with Hogan. And then Hart turns on Sting and delivers a DDT to him. And that match is ruled a no contest. Now Bret's with Hogan and these guys. And then you got the Warrior coming in. Then they got Sting and the Warrior beating Hogan and Hart in October on a Nitro. And then you just get a plethora of these back and forth bullshit things with him losing the title to Paige, not winning the WCW title. He's got friggin' feuds like every other week with somebody. Then he gets in a feud with Rowdy Piper again. And then it goes to Ric Flair and he ends up taking on Ric Flair. And then it goes to Goldberg, where he's doing that stuff with Goldberg. And I got to admit about this is gold for me, Richie. The stuff when he comes out with the Maple Leafs jersey, Jeremy mentioned it earlier. And he's got Goldberg goes to spear him and he's talking all this shit. I can beat him in 5 minutes or less. Goldberg spears him and it's got the metal plate there in it. I love that shit. Did you like that with Goldberg when he did it?
I did like that, but you know what? I don't think Goldberg had any place to be in a program with Bret Hart at this time in place. I really don't. I think they rushed it. I think that what they were doing with Goldberg at the time was so hokey and ridiculous. To me, Bret Hart should have been doing a program with Sting. He should have did it with program with the Macho Man, those kind of guys. I didn't want to see Goldberg in a program with Bret ever. Their styles that, it didn't make sense at all. And you saw what happened. He ended up getting kicked in the face and injured, and the rest is history. So it was a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, this is just a confusing era of his career, Christopher.
Chris, I agree with you.
It's just it really is, man. It's just a confusing era.
A good rabbi recommended there Bret Mysterio versus Bret and Americano.
Dude, Bret and Americano, that would be a match right there. El Grande Americano.
Yeah, dude.
That man's a damn legend.
Sign me up.
Well, then the unfortunate thing that happens is after this feud with Goldberg is unfortunately Owen ends up passing away, and Bret ends up taking some time off from WWE or WCW at this point. And he eventually does come back to wrestle, and it's that match we talked about, earlier. He does come back to wrestle later on, in that cool match with Chris Benoit, which, anybody wants to go back and watch a great match, go check that shit out.
It's one of the greatest matches I've ever seen.
It's awesome. It really was awesome. So he does come back to wrestling, like I said, September 13th, 1999, in a Nitro tag match with Hogan and Sting with Hogan against Sting and Lex Luger. And then he turns babyface yet again on the process, and he ends up going and having that match on October 4th, Nitro, against Chris Benoit. He eventually does get the title later on and finally gets his title run. And then that title run sets up them reforming the NWO again. Like anybody needed the
NWO 2000, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah, what fucking garbage that was at that point, right?
Dude.
Jeez. Fucking garbage. He has a tag match with a tag championship run with Goldberg. Actually, ironically, they become tag champions, but they lose it 6 days later on a Nitro. And then Hart gets unfortunately in that one match against Goldberg, the kick heard around the world that ended his career. And Bret tried to come back a little bit and do some things, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out for him after that. And he was let go from his contract the next year. Yeah. So WCW fired him in October of 2000 and fired him by a FedEx letter because he was incapable.
He got the Stone Cold treatment, man. I mean,
he sure did.
It's a shame because Bret, when he went over to WCW, was still in his prime. He still could go like nobody's business, but it was a vacuum for him. It was literally a passion vacuum. When he went there, you could tell in all of his promos and all the programs that he did. I challenge everybody, go watch Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Go watch that program. Go watch those different ones that he did over the years with Owen Hart and different things. And you look at the passion in it, and then you watch him with his first program in WCW, and just look at his face, his facial expressions, his body language, everything. He was not in it anymore.
Yeah. No, he was checked out, and you could see WCW just frustrated the shit out of him. And everything that it was meant to be, for him there just didn't happen.
It tanked.
It tanked hardcore. Do you think it was his problem mainly, or do you think it was WCW's dysfunction mainly?
I think it was both, man. I think that when Bret Hart got there, I think he wasn't open to being second fiddle. I think that was a big part of it. He was no longer going to be the big fish that everything was surrounded around, and he wasn't ready to accept that. And I think that he already knew that Hogan ran the show pretty much there through Bischoff and all that. And he knew that the writing was on the wall for him, that he was going to be second fiddle the whole time and not really be able to do the things that he wanted to do over there. And he wasn't used to that. He wasn't used to that treatment. He was always given the reins in WWF until the very end. He was the star. He was the GOAT that WWF was focused around for a good long while. I think Eric Bischoff didn't know what the hell to do with the likes of a Bret Hart, because Eric Bischoff didn't, for all intents and purposes, he didn't run a wrestling show. He ran a soap opera. WCW was a soap opera compared to WWF as far as wrestling is concerned, in my opinion.
Eric's basically said through the years that he takes a lot of responsibility for a lot of the Bret Hart's run not working out, but he also brings up often, and has said it many times, I've heard him, that yes, we did drop the ball and didn't do it the right way. And if hindsight's 20/20, if I could go back and do it differently, I would definitely do it over again in a different way. But he also said that Bret was also somebody that didn't seem motivated and didn't seem really that he gave too much of a shit when he came there either, and kind of started getting into his routine, that he could kind of see basically that it was a cash grab for him, and he was checked out from it basically. But Bret denies that. So who knows what the truth is? Bret has denied that through the years. I think
that the trauma partially, of him getting fucked over in WWF, I think it was kind of like Maverick and Top Gun, man. He could never get back on the horse and fucking get back to riding, That really took him off his game, I think. And then, Owen dying, shortly thereafter, he never really regained it back. So
the backstage politics is something in WCW that I think definitely frustrated Bret, because Bret was one that was used to having all the clout and, WWF all those years. And Irregardless, I don't think Bret was a guy that liked backstage politics, which is why I think he gets the rap that he does sometimes for being a prick, because he's direct about what he likes and what he doesn't like. And I don't think that that's something he was big into. And I think WCW was like a bunch of schoolgirls, you know, fighting on the playground, or a bunch of school kids fighting on the playground. I think often it was just like that. And I think that was definitely a good point, Rabbi Moses, that it definitely had a big part of his trajectory in WCW and what maybe made it go bad.
Sure.
Let's see. Bret always claims that he ran television program, or Eric always claims that he ran television programming, not pro wrestling programming.
That's 100% true.
Yep. Bret had no allies there either. Yeah, not many. He didn't have the stroke that he did anymore in the WWF. Now, I outlined some of my things, Richie. What are some other things that you would have done different with Bret there?
Like I said, man, I like the idea earlier of putting him sort of as an agent kind of thing, you know, a mentor to some of the younger guys. He could have mentored Chris Jericho in a lot of ways. You know, Dean Malenko, them guys. I really like that idea of him taking over the power plant. You have your best technical wrestler almost of all time that could have handled a lot of the developmental in the background. So as far as a company standpoint, I would have had him focusing on a lot of that, because his passion, I'm sure, would have been there for that, and seeing younger stars develop in that stage of his career. As far as an on-screen character, I would have gave him a little bit more. I would have gave him a little bit more as far as being the focus of the show like he was in WWF. You got to understand, at the time, he was being talked about every week. That was one of the biggest things to ever happen, and it's still spoken of, is the Montreal Screwjob. The fact that they didn't utilize him more with that is literally criminal. They could have printed money with the amount of shit they could have done with those storylines and playing off of that and attacking WWF and making them look stupid for those things. There was so much they could have done with him. And I like what you said, too, about making him in a faction with a lot of those guys that were kind of buried by the NWO. You know, the Dean Malenkos, the Perry Saturns, those kind of guys.
Think of how their career could have been elevated even more. They were already on an upward slide and talked about very favorably by everybody. People love their work in the ring. They love what they were doing as characters. Think about the rub they would have got by working with Bret, and Bret would have slowly passed the baton maybe in the year 2000 to a guy like Benoit or somebody like that, and really had that next reincarnation of badass champions in WCW. That's how you rebrand that company. You get some guys that you can build behind, the Eddie Guerreros, the Chris Benoits, the Jerichos, the young guys at the time. You know,
and would those guys have left had you given them that opportunity?
I don't think they would have.
I don't think they would have either.
They just wanted a chance there to show how good they were. Yep. You know,
and they didn't want to be pushed to the side for their size. That's literally what it was about. They got pushed aside because they were the vanilla midgets that they were coined the term by Kevin Nash and stuff like that.
Benoit was the next generation to me of guys that should have been the one to take over in 2000. And I mean, think of the rub it would have been if you would have paired him with Bret, and then eventually Bret turns on him, kind of like how they did with Randy Orton in Evolution and stuff like that. You know, and Bret ends up they turn on him, and then Benoit has to fight his mentor finally. And think about that, man. You know, eventually you get that Benoit versus Bret match for the title. You know, teacher versus student type of thing. Yeah. And Benoit ends up getting him in the crippler crossface and taps Bret out right in the middle of the ring.
Yep.
There you go, man. I know Benoit had an amazing career and did great things, but made man right there. And you just got yourself a new person that you can get by. And Benoit was over at the time.
Oh, 100%. You know, when he became the crippler, that was it, dude. He was the king around that time frame. Yeah. So I really think that Bret Hart was terribly, terribly, criminally unused at WCW. One of the biggest misses probably in wrestling history.
Bret MJF. That would have been a fun match, actually, I think, between those two, Rabbi. I kind of like that one, actually.
I'm kind of sour on MJF now, man. It's hard to pair him with anybody anymore with how bad he's been used, too. But that's another episode all in itself. Could he, you know, if we would book MJF's career, I mean, I would have chose for him to go to WWE and be on to bigger and better things myself with MJF.
This is a great faction right here, too, that Joey put out. Bret, Benoit, Jericho, and the Giant, man. Not many people's going to beat those four right there.
I like that. I would have done Bret, Benoit, Dean Malenko, and then I would have did Rick Steiner when Scott Steiner, because Rick Steiner got lost in the shuffle too. So it would have been a great way to have Rick Steiner be the enforcer of that group.
Yeah, the interesting ones. I would have wanted to go a little bit more young, I think, than a Rick Steiner. Giant was still a young guy at this point, but I like the Giant inclusion. But I don't know. I think your enforcer of this group starts off with Benoit, no matter what. That he's your enforcer of the group, and he's the one that's kind of getting the big push. Jericho still could have got up there and got a massive push out of this, from it. Yeah. And whoever he had brought in as like a fourth man with him that they could have paired him with definitely has to be a big imposing figure to me. So
I never want to lose the Ralphus promos with Jericho. So
no, never.
I would never want that. So
Jericho became the god that he was in wrestling for so long, and the guy that's been able to stick around and do so many. Le champion, a little bit of the bubbly.
Right.
He's been able to do so much throughout his career and reinvent himself so many times. I would never not want to see that era with him and Ralphus. I could watch those clips over and over and still laugh my ass off.
1001 holds, all those things, man.
The man of 1004 holds. And then you had when they would get lost to the ring to mock Goldberg. He was mocking how Goldberg was backstage and getting lost, yelling through it, yeah, baby! Coming out with the fat Ralphus and the other guy like Kenny Powers, and Jericho personal security stuff. Oh, yeah. Jericho WCW in this time was
take my money, man.
Oh, he was so good, man. He was so freaking good. There's just so much more they could have done with him, and it's just a shame. It's a shame what happened to him. How much longer do you think he would have gone for, Richie?
If they would have kept him away from Goldberg, I think he would have. I think he could have won another, 4 or 5 years potentially, comfortably at the top of his game. You would have seen him fizzled out after that a little bit, but 4 or 5 years definitely for a strong run, I think would have been in the cards for him for sure.
Yeah, I could have seen a guy like him. He was in his I think he was probably in his late 30s, early 40s at this point. Yeah. So I could have seen him go until if WCW would have stayed open, or maybe I think they could have mended fences maybe, and he could have gone back to WWF if they would have needed him at the time. I think maybe they could have mended fences. I don't know, but Bret got robbed, and we got robbed of so many years of Bret's career that he still had left in him. Mm-hmm. Because of that. And I'm not blaming Bill. It's not like he tried to kill him intentionally. He was stiff. He was green and stupid in the ring.
He was young.
Yeah.
Well, Goldberg, let's listen, guys. I mean, listen to this. This is my take on Goldberg. He was given an opportunity after a failed NFL career, and it wasn't a horrible NFL career, but it was an average one at best. So he was given a boatload of cash to go and do something because he looked great. He had a great physique and an unstoppable force. Who wouldn't have done what Bill Goldberg did in those times, and he was given an opportunity, he did the best that he could with it. And it went to his head, as it would have went to anyone's head at that time that was throwing a boatload of cash. And all of a sudden you're made to believe that you're this unstoppable figure and you have to be this character. And Goldberg believed that he was the character at that point.
Yeah, I agree. And he's openly said through the years too, that's why he tries to portray himself as a certain way and tries to be a certain way on camera. Because he really believes in his mind that he's this character, I think sometimes.
He thinks he's that unstoppable force.
Yeah. And hey, more power to him for it,
good for him,
He had a hell of an aura to him.
And it was a hell of a run, too. I mean, it's still talked about. He came back. He had that amazing match with Brock Lesnar, the program that they righted, instead of the WrestleMania 20 horrible debacle that they had that we watched. Goldberg, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, not the greatest of all time, but definitely had a hell of a run. So
Bret versus Ray, Eddie,
and he's Gunther's favorite fucking wrestler. So that says a lot.
Man. When you're Gunther's favorite wrestler, it says a lot right there.
Absolutely.
That is one of my all-time funniest favorite moments was when they did that with Gunther and Bret. I always say that.
For sure.
Gunther was so good in that smug role, and Bret knew nothing of what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And the look on Bret's face, like he was trying not to laugh while I think getting pissed off inside at the same point. Right. But it was awesome. I like this one, actually. This is a good pairing. Add Lance Storm, the Canadian Destroyers.
It's funny you say that. I would, Jeremy, you and I think alike on a lot of wrestling stuff like that, man. I was thinking Lance Storm, but I didn't know how people would feel about it.
I like it, actually. I didn't think about it.
I know you don't like Lance Storm at all.
I don't, but I don't.
You think he's a Natty Neidhart in male form, so.
I'll say this, though. I think Lance is a prick of a human being and just an arrogant, pompous.
I watched him in ECW last night. He had a lot of charisma there.
I'll say that's my thing, though. I think he's a prick as a human, and he's a mark for himself in a lot of ways, and I get it. I do think he was a hell of a worker in the ring, and I do think he had a lot of good qualities to him. I thought that run that with him in WCW was actually really good, where he had him holding all the belts and renaming them. The Saskatchewan heavyweight championship. I thought it was solid.
I thought it was
as hell.
bad when Helix Skipper got involved, but
I love Helix Skipper.
Yeah, man.
I love him in some of his TNA matches that I've seen. But
I wanted to see Lance Storm continue that storyline on for a little bit. I didn't really like the Team Canada shit.
I could have seen Lance Storm as a world champion in WCW if they would have booked him right.
Especially at that time, he was a monster heel. He really was.
I don't blame The Undertaker if he refused to work with Goldberg again.
He almost dropped him on his freaking neck, dude.
Yeah.
He almost turned him into
and he was pissed about it, too.
Yeah.
Brett versus Chris, loser leaves WCW match. Cool. I like seeing them in a match, too. If the kink didn't happen, then we get Shane Douglas versus Brett in 3 years. Oh, no, I wouldn't want that one. Nettie needs to get off the acid that she does. Team Canada, WCW. Let's see. Helix defeat Ray on Nitro in Brisbane. Oh, that's cool.
Nice, dude. That's a good
Helix
one.
is a hell of a worker, man.
Rewind. I want to talk to you later about something I think it'd be great for our show, too. I think us doing a watch along with you every once in a while with some ECW stuff, I think that would be great.
We really don't cover much ECW on here, and it's a shame.
We don't. And it's because you and I picked some really shitty ECW stuff to watch, and so we're kind of scared of it, I think.
I'm a mark for ECW, though. I grew up watching it here at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Night. I watch wrestling to fall asleep at night, and I put on ECW lately. So, especially with Sabu passing away, I've been watching a lot lately.
Yeah, Rewind said Lance Storm, RVD was really good in ECW when he was a part of the Triple Threat with Shane Douglas. Lance's ECW work with Just Incredible was great. Yeah. What were they called? The Impact Players or something?
Impact Players, yep.
And then they have Dawn Marie, I think, with them or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah. I think that's the best work of Just Incredible's career, too, was when he was doing
Dawn Marie. It was Just Incredible, Lance. And then who was that goofy-ass guy that looked like an 80s porn star?
Oh, Joel. Is it Joel Gertner?
No. It was like I'm not trying to be.
Was he a wrestler?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. He was like a Mexican guy. He kind of looked like Mark Mero a little bit.
Okay. Oh, I know the guy you're talking about. What's his fucking name? Jason. Jason. It's not Jason Sensation. It's Jason something. It's on the. He's kind of like a popcorn fart in ECW for a short period of time, but he played a decent role with them for a little bit.
Yep.
Somebody help me out here if you can remember. It's like Jason something. I'm blanking on it. Is it just Jason Rewind?
It might just be Jason.
Yeah. You guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was paired with them. Scott Hall showing up in ECW was a cool moment. Yep.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I guess it was just
the
Jason.
Most handsome man, yeah. Jason, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was just Jason, the most handsome man. I don't know why I really remembered him. So the sexiest man alive, everybody's saying.
Yep.
So I guess that was his gimmick there, but then I don't remember it. But we should really check out. Maybe next week we'll do a little ECW something.
I'm down, dude. Absolutely.
I'm always down for the hardcore shit.
You know what I like watching is so we've watched the ECW pay-per-views and stuff like that. I want to watch kind of like how we did the Nitro series. I want to watch like the ECW show that they had on weekly and see if it holds up.
Like the TNN one, or you want to go back to the MSG?
The TNN one.
Okay, because let me tell you,
the MSG one,
remember when we started that, how bad it was after a couple episodes?
I would like to watch the TNN one.
Okay. We'll have to find it. I think we can do it.
The days I remember.
It's only a fucking hour, right?
Right. It's only an hour.
Yeah. Maybe we could roll that into once a month we could do it or something like that.
Sure.
What do you guys think? Would you guys be down for some ECW TNN watch-alongs to kind of going back to that era?
I think
I'll say this, though. I was at the debut TNN show, I believe it was.
If we do it, we got to have Rewind join us.
Oh, of course. He's our ECW expert here.
Yeah.
I believe I was at the first or the second TNN show that aired on television. That's when Taz almost killed me. So we were mouthy little fucks at that time, and I've told that story here before.
Mouth off to him, bro.
Dude, he was like a fucking pit bull, man. You know, he was like a fucking pit bull. That was the best seats I've ever had at a wrestling show. Was that TNN show?
Nice.
And we were right in the second row, and we had I think there was 3 or 4 of us, and we had the seats that were where they came out on the entrance. So we 100%, and then they did some other like TV tapings, shit like that for stuff they scouted around for their archives and footage throughout the night. It was one of the most fun shows ever to go to. I had a blast. I remember it very, very, very much. And nice. ECW was a fun show. So yeah, Rewind said he's down. So Jeremy likes the idea too. So ECW TNN Friday night right before the Dukes of Hazzard, the good old days, right?
Yep, for sure, man.
You know, I'm not a big fan of the USWA and Smoky Mountain and all that kind of hokey shit, Lawrence.
Smoky Mountain I liked. I didn't like
a big fan. Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad, but maybe once in a great while we could throw one of those like forgotten ones in. And I don't know. It's when I see the production value of some of it now. I don't see
anybody doing an ECW watch along for their shows. I see pay-per-views all the time. I never see anybody cover the shows, and I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take that long to do either because it was just a couple year run that they had.
Yeah.
I always thought it was funny when Dreamer would pile drive, heel valets, and hold his nose. Dreamer was great too in ECW. Let's throw that out there.
911 would come out and choke slam people and shit.
There was nothing that wasn't off limit. There was nothing off limits in ECW, which is why they would do anything basically.
Right.
The Rick Rude when he picks Francine up and turns her upside down and starts simulating giving her oral sex, burying his face in her crotch and doing it. Yeah. Think about if they did that shit today, man.
Oh man, they'd be canceled quicker than shit.
They had some great people through the years that came in and cycled in too, ECW resurrected and made so many people's careers that they just don't get enough credit for often.
They don't. They don't. And don't forget all the classic matches. You had Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, all those guys down there. Rey Mysterio was in there at one point. I mean, Paul Heyman was responsible for finding a lot of these guys and giving them second chances. Stone Cold Steve Austin, that character was born in ECW, in my opinion. So
that was his way to it, to get back to get back to the show, man. His confidence was rattled. Benoit, Eddie, Ray, just like Chris mentioned, people you mentioned, a lot of people cycled through ECW, hated the crowds. They wore marks for themselves, Joey. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was part of the fun, though.
It was. They were definitely marks for themselves, but they took it over in a good way. They made the shitty production value and the lack of money that they had and the venues and the darkness to it sometimes not being as, aesthetically pleasing as the WWF style or WCW. They made it work, I think, because of that crowd. So
I'll tell you that my favorite ECW program of all time was Tommy Dreamer versus Raven.
Yeah. It's probably the best feud in the history of ECW. Yeah. And Raven always won too.
Yep, he did.
It was great.
That was the best moment of his career. I mean, Raven. Did you see him come out recently? He kind of looked like dog shit, but that was kind of
like dog shit for a long time, to be honest with you.
That was a pretty cool moment.
I'm not a big fan of Raven in any way. I don't dislike him, but I'm not like some huge mark for Raven or anything like that. I respect his talents and things, but his shit in ECW was on point. It was always good, no matter who he worked with. Raven was phenomenal in this run. Raven versus Sandman was good. Yeah, that was the stuff with Sandman's kid, Christopher, if I remember correctly. That was some edgy shit, too, that they would do. Mick was great. And he's Mikey Whipwreck. Great name.
Mikey Whipwreck was another one that was underrated, man.
Oh, awesome performer. Mm-hmm. RVD, Sabu. Yeah, sign me up. I need to watch those.
Any day on those,
Too many good ones.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick break. Richie, you got a little bit more time, right?
For sure.
All right, so let's take about a 10-minute break, guys. Go to the bathroom, stretch out, do whatever you got to do. And then I'm going to put the link out, and we'll let you guys come on and tell us your thoughts if you want to talk about anything with Bret Hart, like what we talked about, how you'd rebook it, or anything else if you got something on your mind. If you want to chat about, we can do that too. It doesn't have to be just Bret Hart. So I'm going to put the link out in the stream. If you want to come on, I'll take a few people. And, whatever it is, we'll give you a few minutes, and you can chat it up on anything you want to. It doesn't have to just be Bret, but it can be what's on your mind too. So we'll be back, say 10 minutes, okay? All right, guys, we'll see you in 10. All right, let's kick it off in style. Right, coming back from the break with our good buddy from Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, if you will, Mr. Blackjack Lazza. Blackjack, what's going on, buddy?
G'day, how's it going?
How's it going, mate?
Nice and clean shaved Blackjack Lazza.
Yeah. Yeah, I basically come on because I done my scenarios for the Bret Hart booking.
Let's hear, brother.
It's a bit like a Quentin Tarantino movie, just less gore. But I'll read it out and hopefully people enjoy it. The first scenario is Bret Hart versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan, or Hollywood Hogan, I should say. Bret Hart's arrival in WCW Nitro opening segment. Lights dim, a single spotlight hits the ring. Hollywood Hogan's down. The crowd is stunned. Tony Schiavone on commentary. What the hell? That's Bret Hart. Bret Hart is in WCW. Bret stands over Hogan, slowly pulls out a black rose from his jacket and drops it on Hogan's chest. A message sent, Tony says. Loud and clear, the Hitman has arrived. So basically, that's the setup for Bret Hart coming to WCW, making his shocking debut by attacking Hollywood Hogan. Setting up for like his Hitman persona as well, where he attacks him, leaves a black rose on his chest. And yeah, that the feud would be like Hart representing tradition and Hogan representing the corporate sort of stuff, like the NWO and their corrupt politics. The anti-NWO crusade joins forces with Rowdy Piper to confront the NWO. Later that night, Rowdy Piper promo in the ring. Rowdy Piper, you people remember they live. Well, I put the glasses back on and I see the NWO for what they are. Politicians, manipulators and parasites feeding off of WCW. Piper, I brought in Bret Hart because he's been through what I've been through, held back, screwed over, and I'll be damned if I let these suits and backroom deals take over this place. Piper, Bret's here to clean house, and believe me when I say he's got no love for the NWO. By making Hart the anti-NWO hero, WCW could have created a compelling narrative with Bret leading a faction of lawless to methodically dismantle the NWO's power and influence. Storytelling, visuals, they lie symbolize like They Live. I don't know if you're familiar with the film They Live with Rowdy Piper.
No.
I sort of incorporated that into the storyline. It's a film where he's I think it's a John Carpenter film. Where he has
They live.
Glasses.
They live, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've adapted with like the Roddy Piper stuff. But anyway, they lie, stylized like they live. Visuals, grainy black and white visuals, NWO members laughing in slow motion, overlaid text, obey, sell out, screw job, cut to Piper and Bret in the shadows, voiceover, Piper, they want control, but they forgot we fight back. The story is told with visuals inspired by They Live, gritty anti-authority and filled with subliminal messages like obey and screw job, symbolising Piper and Bret's fight against the NWO. NWO ties, the storyline hinted at real-world connections, Hogan's ties to Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff, their role in destroying wrestling territories, and the NWO acting like a secret club that runs wrestling with dirty politics. Right, that's that scenario. That's sort of like one of the scenarios I'd use with him coming in. This next scenario is Bret Hart and Sting Dream Tag Team. Backstage, Sting confronts Bret Hart. Sting, you in, Hitman? Bret, damn right I'm in. This locker room needs a leader, and I'm not going to let the NWO ruin what guys like us built. Bret begins like appearing at the commentary table, criticising WCW politics and aligning with Sting. Bret and Sting eventually form a dream tag team unit. Ultimately, Sting will go back to being a solo wrestler, expanding on that persona, and all through he and his tag team will break up. They will remain on good terms with a casual friendship and alliance based on loyalty. So I'm basically just utilising it as like something to create interest, and then eventually they'll do their own thing, but they'll sort of create interest with the Sting persona and the Bret Hart persona. Number 4 scenario, formation of the Hart Foundation 2.0. Reuniting with family members and close allies, Hart could establish a new iteration of the Hart Foundation in WCW. This faction would have served as a counterbalance to the NWO, promoting wrestling integrity and tradition. Feuds with rival stables would have reached WCW's faction dynamics and offered fresh matchups. Bret recreates the Hart Foundation with Jim Neidhart, British Bulldog, and possibly Chris Benoit and Roddy Piper joining forces with them due to his loyalty to Bret Hart, with Owen Hart potentially joining the fold if he leaves WWF. Scenario 5, mentorship and elevation of rising stars. Hart's reputation made him an ideal mentor for emerging talents, engaging in feuds with the likes of Chris Jericho, Booker T, and Eddie Guerrero. Hart could have elevated their profile through competitive matches. Such programs would have bolstered WCW's mid-card and ensured a pipeline of credible main eventers. Chris Jericho could be WCW's answer to Shawn Michaels, and his similarity in personality to Owen Hart combined with Bret Hart's chemistry with both men could lead to a compelling series of matches with Bret. Playing Chris Jericho as WCW's response to Shawn Michaels in WWF and factoring in the Montreal Screwjob. Bret never turns heel. He remains a complex babyface in WCW. After retiring, Bret could leverage his expertise to become a trainer, road agent, producer, and creative team member for WCW, contributing to the company's success in multiple capacities. I'm hoping Bret can mirror Kurt Angle's accomplishments in TNA and bring similar success to WCW. Maybe WCW will end up buying WWF instead of the other way around. And that's pretty much the end of my fantasy booking scenarios.
Good scenarios, Lawrence. I like those, man. Those are some good. Yeah, man. Those are some good ideas for Bret, what they could have done. All good ideas, man. It's amazing to think about the what ifs when you look at this run and what they could have done, right? There was just so much that was there for them, and they just didn't do it.
Absolutely.
Blackjack, good shit, man. I like it, buddy.
Love it, buddy.
Give us a plug for your groups, man, that you got.
Oh yeah, the pro wrestling group I run is Laz's Pro Wrestling Fan Group. You can just search that on the Facebook search thing, and you should be able to find it.
Some good stuff over there too.
I also moderate the Foreign Objects. Don't know if you know that group, but yeah, I'm a moderator on the Foreign Objects.
Good groups, man. I always post our stuff in there, so I know they bring some people over. So we always do appreciate that. Good ones, Blackjack. Blackjack, man, stick around and watch the rest of the show with us. All right.
No worries. Before I go, I'll just say with Chris Jericho, another idea I had in my head was basically he'll be the one to retire Bret Hart, sort of mirroring like the screw job, but it's sort of like a FU to WWF because he'll be like the dungeon trained version of Shawn Michaels in WCW, and they build him up as the counter opponent to Shawn Michaels in WWF, and Chris Jericho ends up being like WCW's Shawn Michaels, and Bret Hart helps make Chris Jericho and retires to Chris Jericho, and he can be like a real villain and can use his like cocky ego and Lionheart persona in WCW as a counter attack to WWF with Shawn Michaels.
All right, man. Well, I like him, buddy. We'll see you. We'll see you on the next go around next week. Good stuff, buddy. All right.
Nice.
All right. Be good, Blackjack. All right. Next is going to be Jeremy and Rewind. You're going to close us off tonight, so stick back in the backstage area. So let's bring Jeremy on. Jeremy, what you got for us tonight, man? How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, brother?
What's going on, dude? What you got, man? What do you think? What's on your mind?
Just want to see what y'all thought about Saturday night's main event coming up this weekend. If this is going to be the show that Sami Zayn turns heel.
I think so. I do. I think the next inevitable step for him is to turn him heel. That's my personal opinion. I think probably align him with Paul's faction, with Punk and Braun Breaker is the way to go. I think that's kind of where they're going with it. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think so. This actually looks like a pretty decent card for Saturday night's main event.
Is it Jey Uso versus Logan Paul main event?
Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre in a steel cage.
All right.
Punk and Sammy against Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker.
Okay. I think it'd be a good card.
Yeah, it actually looks like a good card for a NBC show.
I like the Saturday night's main event because I like the little bit of retro feel that they bring to it, where they kind of go back in time a little bit with the cheesy music and kind of the old set. I like it. Do you?
Oh yeah, I love it. And then you bring Jesse Ventura back for that one show.
Dude, anytime you got Jesse Ventura on, man, it's good by me.
But yeah, real quick, I didn't want to take up a lot of time and stuff, but
no, you're always good, man.
I was watching the Triple H Stephanie interview earlier today, and
wasn't it good, dude?
It was wonderful. But when he was fighting back tears and he pulled out a coin that she gave him that says "Memento Mori," which is Latin for meaning we all gotta die. Yep. Don't leave any stone unturned. Live for the moment. And, there's so many people out there that are struggling with like issues, whether it be their health, physically or mentally, and they don't want to reach out for help. But that's just like my cheap plug saying, if you struggle with anything like that, anyone out there, get help.
Yeah, for sure.
Good points, brother, man. It's always great having you on, Jeremy.
But yeah, take the time if you got Disney Plus or ESPN Plus, watch that interview. It's really good. They both get really emotional. It's a great interview.
Yeah, Is there a name? Is there a name to the documentary?
It's called something.
It's called Grand Entrances or something like that. It's like the newest episode on the list.
Okay,
it's at
I'll
the very
give that a
bottom
watch
list.
then.
But yeah, it's like amazing. A 30-minute video. It's awesome.
Yep.
I'll have to give that a watch then, man. All right, buddy. Well, it's good talking to you. All right.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good night.
All right, you too, buddy. All right, our man from Oregon. Look at him. He's got the chalkboard out.
Whoa, buddy. That's cool.
Yeah, when you're on hiatus, I broke the chalkboard out. You should go back and watch the fantasy, what was it, Survivor Series?
Yeah.
Yeah, me and you have a match, Richie. Tuxedo match.
Nice, dude. I'm in.
Bro, he got his money's worth out of that with the chalkboard in the match versus you.
There you go.
You were, I think you guys were the main event in a tuxedo match, right?
Yeah, it was his team versus my team.
Yeah. He's breaking the chalkboard out. So what's on your mind tonight, Rewind?
I booked it, but it's like 14 pages, so it doesn't matter. I went off the deep end. But the ECW idea is a good one, Richie. I like that one.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. I'm down. I love it.
Do you want to check out the first TNN show, Rewind, or do you want to pick a match that's your favorite for next week?
We can do whatever you guys want. I'm no expert, but like I've gone back and probably watched all the pay-per-views in the past year or so, or since the beginning of the year. I've watched a lot of them. I watched some of the hardcore TV, but not a lot of them. So whatever you guys want to do.
I'd like to see one of your favorite matches that we could check out and watch from ECW.
I guess we could do Taz versus Shane Douglas or Taz Heatwave 90. Is it 98?
Bam Bigelow.
Yep, that's a classic.
That's a good one too. I like the Bam Bam one too.
That's a good one.
So you want to do Bam Bam and him at Heatwave?
Yeah, I think it's 98. Yeah, we can do that one. Or we could do Sabu and Taz, Barely Legal 97.
That's a good one.
Ooh,
and that's Anarchy Rules 99 too. It's another good one too. Them too.
Rand brought up a good one here. It's Sabu versus RVD in the TNN ones. So that was a good match. I do remember.
Or even the first match on the Barely Legal was the Eliminators versus I think it was the Dudley Boys. That's a great match too.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything you guys want to do, I'm down.
Think about it over the next week and just text me and let me know what you come up with for your final choice. You think about it, whatever you want to do for it, because there's not one of those matches, I guarantee you, that you're talking about that anybody's going to be disappointed to go and watch and have some fun with checking out.
I feel like it should be Sabu and someone. Sabu and Taz. Or
I'm down, dude. Sabu, sign me up. Sabu versus a fucking mop, I'll watch. I don't care.
He made anything entertaining at that point in time of his career.
Or do like Sabu and RVD. They were tag team champions. We did one of the tag matches. I mean,
the Sabu versus RVD one where RVD actually came out and dressed up as Sabu, like that whole feud was dope, dude.
Yeah. Dude, Sabu never had a bad match. I mean, he botched shit left and right, but it was still fucking paid off.
Yeah.
And he was a guy that just loved to work and he loved to wrestle, you know?
Taz or Sabu versus Terry Funk, the barbed wire match. That's a gnarly
That's a great one.
That's a fucking gnarly one.
He said Sabu versus Terry Funk barbed wire match?
Yeah, it's where he rips his bicep up.
And when he tapes it up or whatever.
Yeah,
it's fucking.
Oh, that's a good
Let's
one.
watch that one. Let's watch that one.
Yeah, at the end of the match, they had to cut them apart because they're all tangled up.
Mm-hmm.
We should watch that one.
All right.
Okay.
It was like, I can't remember what it was. Can't remember. I'll find it, but yeah, that's a good one. We'll do that one.
I like that. That'd be a fun one. What else is on your mind tonight, Mr. Rewind?
Not much, just working a lot and fucking. That's about it, dude.
Yeah.
Is that a Cody Rhodes shirt you got on?
No, American.
El
Is that Americano? Oh
Yep.
my god. Okay, I couldn't really see it that well. That's badass.
Bro, you get extra cool points tonight.
Yeah, you do.
I've been buying a lot of fucking wrestling tees, dude.
Oh,
a lot.
Go on eBay, dude. If you ever want to get the old school ones that are like reprinted, go on eBay. Like I got my Owen Hart, the Austin 316 knockoff one and stuff like that. It's really cool. So
there's a site that does all old fucking wrestling tees.
Yeah.
But the thing about them is, like, I don't know, is the shirt gonna be shitty? If I'm gonna wash it, it's gonna shrink. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the problem when you get with some of those sites sometimes where you get those knockoff shirts and they put it on some cheap, Kmart level, fucking shirt, like you said, that's gonna shrink in the first time you wash it.
Right.
RVD, the Sheik's favorite wrestler. Yeah. Sheiky, baby.
Dude, even Sabu's uncle, the original Sheik dude, was a gnarly dude with the fireballs.
He was
and shit.
a nut, bro.
Yeah, he was.
Did you see the dark side of the ring about him last week? It's a good watch, actually. Go check it out. Yeah. Did you haven't watched it yet, Richie?
I need to dive back into the dark side of the ring. I haven't watched since Buff Bagwell, so
this season has been kind of disappointing in my opinion. Like, it's been not bad, but it's been kind of disappointing. I'll say that. But the Sheik and Sabu one from a couple weeks ago was really, really good. It was very interesting to see about somebody. I knew a little bit about Sabu's uncle, the original Sheik, but you really learn a lot about him, and he was a wrestler through and through, and he never broke kayfabe.
Yeah.
They tell a story about him. Sabu tells a story about him where he had a really big house because he was making big money at the time in Detroit and his promotion for years, and he would bring the big stars to come in and take each other on in the territory. And he had a huge house, so the wrestlers would stay at his house. He would let them come in, whether they were the heels or the baby faces or whatever. And all of them, the names got to stay at his house, and he put them up. It was a big, mansion that he had. And Sabu tells the story when they were kids that they'd see like Bobo Brazil and the Sheik who were taking each other on. One's, Bobo, I think, was the big baby face at the time, and his uncle was the dastardly heel. And you'd see Bobo Brazil in his uncle's house eating dinner in the other room. And then Sabu's uncle or whoever was taking on that person was in the other room eating at the table. And all the kids, thought that it was a real life hatred that they had, that it was just business that they were doing. And he said that his uncle wouldn't even allow them to communicate and talk to each other in the house. That's how much he protected the business.
A lot of people say that's one of the reasons Sabu never got further in his career is because he was like his uncle, very old school, no kayfabe, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's an interesting watch, man. Definitely go check it out, especially being a Sabu fan, or you want to see where he comes from. Man, the original Sheik, he was a crazy dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Bruiser Brody.
You gotta be to bring up a guy like Sabu, though.
Yeah, they briefly touched on it a little bit. Like, he has this feud with Bruiser Brody, and there's been stories told. And Bruiser Brody is one of the biggest badasses of all time, of course. Yeah. And that him and Bruiser Brody would have these just complete fucking, to quote JR, slobber knockers and shit. And that Bruiser Brody thought that his uncle was like the nicest dude in the world, but he thought he was insane. And every time you get in the ring with him, that even Bruiser Brody had a little bit of hesitation occasionally to get in the ring with him because you never knew what his uncle was going to do next.
Who do you think would win in a street fight, Haku or Bruiser Brody?
Haku.
Rewind.
Haku. Only person who can take Haku is probably Taz. It's the only person I think.
Yeah. I mean, if he hits him, if he hits him in the Taz mission, it's over with.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'll tell you though, if you put Haku and Bruiser Brody going into a bar together on the same side and going out to clean house, I think those two could probably take out about a whole bar on their own with those two. Absolutely. Bruiser Brody, for anybody that's never watched his stuff, that man was a fucking lunatic.
He was a tank, dude.
And he had no fear of anybody.
Yeah. No,
Lex Luger tells a great story about him. He had a cage match against him. I think it was his first match ever, actually, if I remember the story correctly. And he was as green as goose shit, and they put him in a cage match. And he thought that Bruiser Brody was going to kill him in the ring, and he kept fucking up because he was new. And he said when he got to the back, people were fucking with him and saying, "You better, if he comes to the back, you better hide after that stinker. You fucked up the finish or whatever happened." And he said, at the end of it, he was so scared that Bruiser was going to be mad at him and want to kill him. And when he was in the ring with them, he was just scared of him. And then he said he comes in the back and he sees him. And he said Bruiser Brody was the nicest guy in the world about the fuck up. He's like, oh, it's okay. It happens. You know, things happen. It's, you know, well, he's like, you'll learn from it and grow from it. And he's like thinking to himself, and he's like, I think he said, I think it was like Sting or somebody, or Flair was back there with him. And he said to him, or somebody big that was a bigger name in his career. I can't remember who it was. And they're like, really? Did that just happen? Did he just say that? And they're like, he's just fucking with you. And he's like, don't buy into it. He'll kick the shit out of you if you do that. He would say this thing. Bruiser was the nicest guy in the world if you weren't a dick to him. But if you were somebody that like you thought you were a tough guy coming in there and you were going to kick his ass and take him off of his top spot or anything like that, he was going to put you in your place pretty quick.
Nice.
Swinging the chain around, he'd scare all the Japanese people.
Yeah.
Yep. So
all the young boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
He was feared in Japan by the people. The people would run when he'd swing that chain around at the crowd.
That's because they were all half the size of him.
Yeah, pretty much.
If that. There were tiny little people over there.
Well, Rewind, that'll be fun next week, man. I like that idea. So you're going to join us for the whole show, okay?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you next week, okay?
Cool. Thanks for having me on. Later, guys.
All right, thanks, brother.
Sure, buddy.
All right, we got one last one. Joey, what's going on, my man?
Up,
How you doing, buddy?
What's up, fellas? Long time no see.
I know, man. It's been a hot minute, man. It's good to see you back, my friend.
Yeah,
How you doing?
Yeah, you too. I'm doing all right.
Life good?
Yeah, it's been better. Had a little bit of a health scare this week, but you know
what's going on, bro?
A little too much tequila.
I've been there, buddy.
Wound up in the hospital. Missed Dynamite in Chicago, but I still think I made the better choice.
There you go.
For sure.
Are you on the mend and feeling better though?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, spent a weekend in the hospital, but missed Dynamite, but I think I got off easy because I still miss Dynamite. So
yeah, it's all right.
Yeah,
you can make it up on another show.
Yeah. So
well, I'm glad you're on the mend. What's going on? What's on your mind tonight, buddy?
Okay, so I will say for the ECW watch along, I would suggest Pitbull number 2 versus Too Cold Scorpio versus Shane Douglas versus Chris Jericho for the TV title.
Okay.
Classic match.
We'll have to watch that.
Where Francine turns on Pitbull number 2 and joins the franchise. So
nice.
That's a classic match. Yeah. So that's a good one. So for sure. As far as booking Bret Hart, I just want to see him fight El Dandy. I don't know. So
yeah, I mean, it should have happened.
Yeah, I mean, it just never happened. So, but
he was a jam up guy, man.
Yeah, Is Joey? Do you think El Dandy versus Bret Hart not getting a match between them is one of the greatest tragedies in wrestling of matches we never got?
I mean,
for sure.
WCW shut down about 2 years later. I'll let you draw your own conclusions from that. So,
yep. Yeah, you had money on the table with them.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have jam up guy. Hard work Bobby Walker in there. It would have been fucking
stars were aligned, right?
Yeah. Yep. Or neurosis. Absolutely. I mean, psychosis. No.
Yeah.
Those fucking promos are the best.
Yeah. So
oh man.
But you know, I just always thought Bret, I mean, just like my opinion of Sting post 97, I mean, by the time he got there, he was just phoning it in anyways. So I mean, he was out of it. And then, you know, wrestling was so big. I mean, you really didn't have to do much. I mean, as long as you cut a promo, I mean, you pretty much didn't have to do much. So
look at Lex Luger.
Yeah.
You could cash whatever check you wanted with as much money as they would give you from WCW if you just got out there and did a couple little things, and you could basically call your shot, right?
Yep, exactly. So,
and then Sting coasted along sometimes too, Joey. You think that he didn't take it as seriously as he could have at the end?
I think he did. Yeah, and
there's a lot of interviews where he says that actually.
Yeah, you know, I think, and you know, the Starrcade 97 thing, you know, granted, he said he was going through some stuff, but, you know, you knew that, I mean, he knew that was the biggest match that was the one everyone wanted to see. I mean, there was nothing stopping him from getting in a tanning booth for about 10 minutes and hitting the gym for maybe two or 3 weeks. I mean, come on. I mean, you know, I get depressed sometimes. That'll stop me from going to the gym, but you know, that's just me. So, I mean, but you know,
it's a good point you made too, because a lot of people like shit on WCW for that booking, and it was god awful at the end of Starrcade. But Bischoff really did raise some good points about Sting's physique at the time and how he just didn't act like he was interested in even doing anything. He's at the biggest pinnacle of his career in this storyline, and he said they took their lumps too for this, because they should have probably paid more attention. But when he said that he saw Sting, and he said it was like Sting hadn't worked out in the entire time he wasn't in the ring, and he hadn't done anything, and he hadn't taken care of himself, just wrestling is about looks too, no matter if you're the biggest guy in the world or not. Unfortunately, it's a looks, type of thing. So if you don't have that look, I could kind of see maybe their hesitation with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. And I know this isn't a Starrcade episode, but, my opinion on that whole show is everybody, not just Hogan, not just Sting, but just everybody in general not wanting to do what's best for that company.
Yep.
So,
I mean,
because they all were in it for themselves.
You saw that should have been the end of the NWO. You saw Kevin Nash didn't show up. I mean,
Scott Hall didn't show up.
Scott Hall was there, actually. Scott Hall was the only one, I think, in that whole show that actually he put the Giant over. He made the Giant look like $1 million.
Oh, you're right. He did.
He made Bret look like $1 million. Scott Hall is the only one there that actually did anything. I mean, and Kurt Hennig put over DDP. So, I mean, the NWO won most of their matches. Raven and Perry Saturn beat Chris Benoit. I mean, just nobody wanted to do what was right. So
nobody wanted to do what was best for the company. Like you said, they looked out for themselves and didn't realize that if the company did well, they would have already done just as good, and if not better, if they would have just
still be here today.
Yeah. And think of all the money that was left on the table because they just couldn't coexist with one another.
Did you guys, when you were kids, did you guys think of a world that WCW wasn't going to exist? I mean, it felt huge at the time, like it was unstoppable, like WWE is, and it's just crazy it's not here anymore.
As a huge WCW mark, I'll always say this, when WCW died that day, a little part of me and my wrestling fandom died too, because it was such a magical time that, you go back, and we've talked about it a million times on the show, that it was just must see TV every week. And when you didn't have it around anymore and you saw what it was going, it was really sad to see. That's why I can't remember a lot of the WCW 2000 to 2001 stuff, because it was so embarrassing to watch it, because they just had so many different bookers and so many people, like you mentioned, Joey, that were just in it for them fucking selves, that they ruined that company. And they took this hottest product that was out there for a few years, and they were the hottest product in the world for a good 2-3 years, and they just killed it. And it's like it died quick. And then then after it dies, it was even like this just slow and just prodding abuse of making them suffer even more. It was like they resuscitate them and kill them, It was just the worst,
And they treated, pay-per-views are supposed to be like the big blow-offs, but they treated the pay-per-views like second rate. I mean, I can remember they had a Great American Bash take place in Moline, Illinois, of all places, and the next night they had Nitro in Chicago. I mean, and then they treated their pay-per-views like pay-per-view boxing matches, because they would only advertise the main event and maybe one undercard match, and then you wouldn't even know what else you'd be getting. But then you'd get like Mike Enos versus Steve McMichael
your opener.
Yeah, and I mean, no one wants to pay for that, but I don't know.
Of course, the main event's always going to draw them in, but you got to have a solid undercard too if you're really going to get the consistency. Yeah. And I think a lot of that, and I'm not pitting blame on this guy solely, but I think a lot of that, and he said it in interviews a million times. We had him on the show years ago, and Russo has said it all the time. His job was to sell TV, not sell pay-per-views, and that's how he looked at it. And that's where you see and I'm not knocking him for that, because his contract, was about the TV and the ratings, and he got more money from it, I'm sure, and all that stuff. And I get what he was doing, but they didn't care about the pay-per-views during his run, and that run that was going on there. He openly has said it. He cared about getting TV ratings. So they're throwing all this shit on the show, and then the pay-per-views are this lackluster garbage. But then when you go back and look 2 years before, You know, they're selling 600,000, 700,000, 800,000 buys on a pay-per-view. That's making them money hand over fist, and everybody wants to see these shows. And you can't go away from what the magic is and what makes it work. You have to sell the card, the pay-per-view.
It's got to be consistent.
Yeah, you can't do it, man.
Because I remember in 96, 97, begging my parents, like, because I think, John, we're about the same age. I'm 43 as well.
Yeah, same.
So,
yep.
Yeah. So I remember begging my parents 96, 97 to get the pay-per-views. By 98, 99, I was like, I don't care. I'll just read the results online. So, but
it was like must see every week. Like in my house, Joey, it was like this, like growing up, like my dad would let me get like one a month, you know, basically if I was lucky at this point. And then I had a job when I was 16, and when I was 13, I actually had a job, and I could pay for my own if I wanted extras. So my dad would always make me a deal. He'd say, you can get like one pay-per-view a month, but you can't get both of them. Like you couldn't get WCW and WWF. It was too expensive. So I would usually, you know, pay for one out of my own pocket, you know, because I had a job and I had some money and it was fine. And then, like you said, about late 98, early 99, I didn't even give a shit about the WCW pay-per-views anymore. I was like, I'm not watching this. Nope.
Yeah.
Not going to do it. There was only a few times it got me to like want to actually watch that thing. And I was ordering at that point all the WWF shows instead.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. I think, like, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I think the only, like, after 98, I think the only WCW pay-per-view I really wanted to watch was like that first, like, Russo Bischoff,
the New Blood one. Yeah.
And
I did
just
too.
To see where they were going to go with it. But then after that, you know, when they tastelessly threw Canyon off that cage in Kansas City, like the same month, a year after Owen Hart, I was like, man, what?
Yeah, we just did that show. That was the topic of last week, Joey, that we did. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. We did that one last week, actually.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah. Go back if you got time and check it out in the archives later on. It's just last week's show. It's called Was It That Bad? And we looked at the main event from Slamboree 2000, and it was hot garbage, as we all saw last week. And like you said, how tasteless it was, being a year later in the same arena that Owen Hart died. And you do that shit.
That's funny.
So,
you know, give me a fucking break. Like, that was WCW though, right?
Not to mention we had Sting thrown off the same thing too. So
yeah.
They put him on fire. Yeah. So
you gotta love it, man. Well, Joey, thanks for coming on tonight, buddy.
No problem. I just work a lot of nights now, so you know, it's just hit or miss for me now.
All right, we're here every Wednesday around between like 10:15 and 10:45 we start. So we're here every Wednesday. It's our new weekly time that we're doing this since we came back about a month or so ago from our break, and we're here every Wednesday night religiously, buddy.
Okay, yeah.
All right, man.
We'll try to catch the next one. Thank you.
All right, brother. We'll see you later, Joey. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yep. Have a good night.
You too.
Great topics of discussion tonight, man.
Yeah, this has been a great show, and I appreciate y'all coming out, Joey. It's good seeing you again, man. The rants, all you guys, Brand. We appreciate y'all showing up, man. It makes it good for us to keep coming back, so we appreciate y'all.
Yeah, good questions, good discussion, good fantasy booking by Blackjack, and Jeremy's had some great questions and ideas. Joey did the same.
Rewind. I'm excited for the upcoming series with you, buddy.
Rand had some great ideas in the crowd. Everybody earlier that came in, lots of good ideas, man. I really enjoyed everybody's perspectives on it, as we always do. And next week we're going to do some ECW Rewind. We're going to do that barbed wire match is what we came up with, I think.
Yep. Funk versus Sabu, I think. Yep.
All right, so we're going to check out a little barbed wire match next week, which is going to be a good time, and we're going to have some fun. Devon, get the muffins. You're welcome. Absolutely. Richie, closing thoughts before we get off, my friend.
I appreciate y'all. This is the highlight of the week. Each and every week, we love coming on here and doing this stuff, man. Hopefully we're giving you guys good content like always, and we'll see you down the road.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Come on back. We'll watch some ECW. We'll get extreme, and we'll have a great time. So for Richie, I'm John. We are out of here. We will see you guys and gals next week. Have a great rest of the week, and thanks for coming out and joining us here on Wrestling with Reality.